Hey everybody, Thacia here with Legacy of Light in conjunction with One Love Wellness Center here in Menasha, Wisconsin, coming to you for one of my 365 days from my heart to yours. And I'm going to read again today from the Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo. So it says, the ear as a petal. The ear is only a petal that grows from the heart. When we hear each other, it all becomes a garden. Just what does it mean to listen? We have all exhibited the remarkable mental dividedness whereby we choose not to pay attention, and yet when asked, we can recite word for word what has been said. Listening arises from a different, deeper place, and it seems we can only hear the living to the extent that we have truly lived. We can only understand pain and joy to the extent that we have allowed ourselves to be touched by life. If the ear grows from the heart, just like a petal, then as roots absorb rain and the sun until a simple flower opens. The heart must absorb both tears and joy in order to sprout an ear that can truly hear. So the balance. I remember years before cutting my feet in search of a path, sitting on my immigrant grandmother's hospital bed, watching her wince as they put gauze on her bedsore heels. I remember years before I saved my golden retriever from drowning, watching a coworker cry for his dead dog, trying to understand how he could love an animal more than a person. I remember years before having to start my life over, racing down a farmhouse road in the middle of the night to see my father-in-law's proud eyes, just as the barn he built 30 years before was burning to the ground. It was only later that I felt their pain, and even more, their true joy in caring for those things. To be sure, we do not have to experience the same things to receive each other, but we do have to experience what is ours to live through before life will show its roots. What does it take to truly listen? The breakdown of everything that parades between our hearts. If I dare to hear you, I will feel you like the sun and grow in your direction and you in mine. For when we hear each other, it all becomes a garden. It all becomes edible. So listening and hearing and truly takes more than just reciting the words that somebody's saying to you. And sometimes we're not even listening to what the person is saying because we're already going over in our head what we're going to respond with or what we're going to say, instead of just being in the moment and actually listening with all of us, with our hearts, with our ears, with our mind, all of it together, to find that balance and not just thinking in our heads what we're going to say next to whatever they're talking about. So our ear is just a petal on this beautiful flower that grows from our heart. And here is where, I believe is like the center of everything, because the heart is what's going to keep us balanced. The heart is going to steer us in the right direction. The heart is going to, help us balance with the brain so that we can listen and just hear, you know, what the other person is saying. But sometimes listening is watching as well, to see, you know, the gestures from the person, because a lot of times people say things and they want the opposite thing than they're actually saying. And sometimes we can read, you know, through the lines, so to speak. We can hear because we can watch, you know, their hand gestures. We can watch their face. We can, you know, look at everything within the environment to be hearing what they are actually telling us. And sometimes, you know, maybe if a person is struggling, they may not even realize, you know, that they're giving you clues. They're, you know, through just their talking and you actually listening to them. And you can hear then the truth, because you're not worried about what you're going to say next. You're not worried about giving them advice. You're not worried about anything. You are genuinely just in the moment and just listening to what they have to tell you. And so what I see is, you know, what Mark is saying is that in order to listen, we must be aware of our life and aware of how we are living our life, and making that connection through ourselves. So what does it take to truly listen? The breakdown of everything that parades like boom, between our hearts. All of this stuff going on. So I urge you to just take note of the times when you are really listening and the times when you aren't. And not so you can get down on yourself and be like, oh my God, I wasn't listening 3 times, or like, oh, I was so good, I listened every time. It's just to be that observer. Because a lot of what we can learn through is being the observer of our own lives, of the things that we are doing. And then we can make that connection with what is coming to fruition within our reality. So just take the time and, you know, just make a little mental note. And when you become aware of these things, that's when you have the opportunity to make a choice. Every time you become aware of something, then you can make that choice. And none of your choices are right or wrong. They're just the choices that you're going to make. But you can decide to, you know, maybe make a point to listen better. Because sometimes other people are sharing information with you, not so that you can give them a response, but maybe they just need to, you know, to speak it out, to get it off their chest so that they can move on. And maybe they just need that person to listen to. So listen, and then if, you know, after you've truly listened, then if a response is needed, then you can give one. And the response that you're going to give is going to be more authentic then if you're just sitting in your, you know, your monkey mind, okay, yeah, they're saying this, they're saying this, they're saying this, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna say this. But if you're listening to the person, you can actually respond to them in a more authentic manner that is true to your heart and what needs to be shared, or maybe what doesn't need to be shared. And maybe you're just there for that, just to listen. Okay. Well, I think that's all for today. I love you, and as always, you are eternally adored and loved not only by me, but the entirety of the universe, which is a super sweet deal. So, all right, thanks.